Malala's activism is breaking barriers in education for girls by fighting against extreme leaders of her home country who are trying to silence education in order to be more powerful. Instead of taking a step back and hiding behind the shadows of fear, she takes a step forward and impacts the world in many encouraging ways. Malala was born on July 12, 1997. She grew up in Swat Valley, which was known to be a beautiful place with lovely landscapes of rivers and forests. She was an ordinary girl in Pakistan who grew up with a burning desire to learn everything there was to learn.
I want to become a doctor. It's my own dream, but my father told me that you have to become a politician. But I don't like politics
But I see a great potential in my daughter that she can do more than a doctor. She can create a society where a medical student would be easily able to get her doctorate degree.
Pakistan is a country where equality is non-existent and women don't have the same rights as men. Women aren't allowed to go shopping because of the strict rules of the Taliban. Instead, the men have to go on their behalf, which causes many businesses to close due to the decrease in customers. The women's main purpose is to simply stay at home, cook, and provide for their children. Malala noticed that many of her friends at school began to drop out for this very reason. The Taliban quickly took away women's rights to education, as well as their right to practice cultural activities such as singing and dancing. Malala wrote her first speech when she was 11 years old, and she titled it, "How Dare the Taliban Take Away My Basic Right to Education?" She was already recognizing the wrongs of the men that were controlling the country that she lived in. Malala loves her homeland deeply, but the village's beauty will later shift as violence and suffering changes the country. Malala's father, Ziauddin, got a call from Abdul Hai Kakar, who is an old friend and a BBC reporter. He needed help with finding a young schoolgirl to write about her reality under the Taliban, as a recent blogger stepped down. The Taliban is a group of people who take away their people's rights. In order to receive the power that they are searching, they create a society in which the citizens are afraid of their own government.
In Swat, when we go to our school, we are very afraid of Taliban. He will kill us, he will throw acid on our face, and he can do anything.
Malala volunteers and sees it as an opportunity rather than a dangerous risk, but she still has a struggle to find her voice and decides to use the pseudonym Gul Makai when she writes in her journal. Her diary entries get published online, and she talks about many different topics. One of them in which she condemns the requirement for women to wear a burqa to cover every inch of their bodies, and argues that women should be able to wear what they want.
We won't be able to take any risk.
Ziauddin's school closes on January 15, 2009, and Malala, as well as the rest of the students, won't be able to go to school any longer. In Malala's next diary entry, she pleads for the right of education and expresses her thoughts about how the Taliban's fear for education is unjustified. While Malala has the responsibility to tell her story through the diary, she uses the attention to shed light on the fact that education is a global human right and not a cultural thing. Her realization that she won't be able to go back to school anytime soon makes her upset because she cares so deeply for hers and others' education. She feels that the Taliban robs her future, one bombing at a time. Malala continues to educate herself by reading books while she is staying home.
They cannot stop me. I will get my education if it is in home, school, or any place.
When people across Pakistan criticize Fazlullah, one of the first outspoken advocates for the Taliban in Pakistan, he concedes to lift the ban for women's education and gives permission to girls who are 10 years and below to go to school. In order to go to school, Malala pretends to be younger than she really is. The conflict between the Taliban and Pakistan government continues to grow, and the Taliban soldiers proliferate over the country, which results in 70% of Swat being under the Taliban's control. Malala's father insists to keep his family in the Swat village, as it seems to be safer to stay in their house than walking outside where soldiers can attack any time. However, a loudspeaker declares that the safest thing to do is get out immediately. Malala's family later attempts to flee their home. They reach the city of Shangla, the village where her father grew up. Months go by until the Prime Minister of Pakistan reports that it is safe to return to Swat Valley. On her way back, Malala discovers that the houses she once used to visit are now blown apart and the beautiful gardens have overgrown with weeds. Their house has been left virtually unaffected, which is a huge relief. Taliban soldiers are still living secretly in the valley as the group becomes more powerful by blowing up more schools. It's important to keep in mind that Malala is still a young teenager and shouldn't need to go through all this trouble to be able to go to school, but her desire to have the right to learn is bigger than her fear of the Taliban. Malala attends an assembly in Karachi, held in her honor, and thousands of people in the audience cheer for her. She meets Shaila Anjum, a reporter that alerts her that the Taliban has threatened to kill her. The news terrifies her father, and he tells her that she should take a break from her political activism in hope that the Taliban will back off. But Malala ignores this, as she wants to stay committed to support women's right to education. The attendance in school decreases throughout the year, while the fear of the Taliban increases. Malala keeps her focus to school with the finals week just around the corner. On the third day of exams, she wakes up and goes to school. It's a normal day until on the way home, when two men stop the bus and step on. They urge to know, who is Malala? Everyone on the bus turns around and looks at her. The officers directed their guns towards Malala as one of them pulls the trigger and shoots Malala in the head. She was taken to a military hospital where the doctors performed emergency surgery. The chance of her survival was minimal. She had to go on a plane that flew her to Birmingham in England to get a better surgery. The bullet had missed her brain and landed in her shoulder instead, but it had still caused a few infections in the brain area. When she woke up from her coma 1 week later, she couldn't speak and wasn't expected to be able to talk anytime soon. Malala eventually recovered and was able to talk and walk and do everything that she had been able to do before the shooting. It wasn't easy for Malala to find her voice, but she finally did. In October 2014, it was announced that Malala had won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Today is a day of great happiness for me. I'm proud, well, in fact, I'm very proud to be the first Pashtun, the first Pakistani, and the youngest person to receive this award.
Malala opened a school for Syrian refugee girls in Lebanon for her 18th birthday in July 2015.
Today, on my first day as an adult, on behalf of world's children, I demand our leaders, we must invest in books instead of bullets.
Malala got a chance to study at Oxford University in England, which she gratefully accepted. She began her studies there on October 9th in 2017. Malala continues to fight for women's rights, education, and equality through her work with the Malala Fund. Some of the countries where girls miss out on secondary education include Pakistan, Turkey, Lebanon, India, and Brazil. It provides girls around the world to have access to 12 years of free, safe, quality education.
One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Education is the only solution. Education first. Thank you.